Okay friends, the first thing I wanted to do is show you the 3 layouts that I completed with the products that are in your kit. All the products that are in your kit are from the Maggie Holmes Round Trip collection. Anyway, so there's several pattern papers and a couple of embellishments. The only thing that you will need that is not included in this kit to complete these 3 layouts is 1 piece of cardstock. And I'll show you that here in just a minute. But this is the layout that we will be creating today. The title is Wander Together, and it has 3 4x6 photos and 2 2x3 photos. So the other photos are right here. So it's kind of hard to get that all in one shot, but this is what the layout looks like, and then you'll slip it into the page protector. So this will actually be on the top, and I will show you that when I get finished with creating this layout. Anyway, so lots of photos and a really cool interactive element on this first layout. One thing that I did want to note is in your instructions you will see that I made notes of where you can stitch with your sewing machine and white thread, or you can even hand stitch. I know that that's not for everyone, but I wanted to make note of that so that if you do want to give stitching on your layouts a try, you'll kind of know where I stitched on my projects. Okay, so this is the first layout, the one that we'll be creating together. And then this is the other layout, or the second layout. One thing I wanted to note about this class and about kind of how I create, I will show you how I cut these pattern papers. And in order to get the 3 layouts, you will want to cut these, cut the papers just as I cut them, just so you'll know that you can complete all 3 projects. So on this layout you have 1 4x6 photo, but there is room for you to add more photos if you choose to. So on this layout we have this fun interactive element with the 2 tags that I adhered together. I have just journaling on the inside, but you could easily put another photo here and a photo there and even a photo on the outside here if you would like to. The other thing that I wanted to note on this layout, and I hope you can see it on film, it's kind of hard, but I used foam dots on 3 sides of this pocket. And I did that so 1, it's much easier to slide the tags in and out, and 2, it gives you extra room so that if you do want to add more photos or embellishments and make this a little bit bigger, you can do that as well. So when you go to put this page in a page protector, just put it in the page protector and take a craft knife and very carefully just cut through the plastic right there along the top of that 3x4 card, and then put the tags in. So the top of this tag will be on the outside of the page protector. And then last but not least, this is the layout that you will need to add a piece of cardstock. And it's just this white cardstock, nothing fancy, just a little strip of it, so that your photos kind of stand out. Because if you put your photos just on this background or even this pattern paper background, you'll kind of lose your photos in all the patterns. And so that's why I added this piece of white cardstock. Again, there's stitching along the edges of these pattern papers. We've got lots of dimension here with the butterflies and a fun title out of those puffy stickers. So those are the 3 projects that I created with this kit. Please share the projects that you made. I would love to see your take on these 3 projects. So let's get started. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to start with this layout titled Wander Together. There are only 3 pattern papers that you need for this particular layout. So I have my instructions here. I'm going to do my best to follow along in the order that I wrote the instructions, but just know the instructions might be slightly different from how I put the layout together today. So we'll need both packages of embellishments. So I've just emptied this ephemera pack into a dish here. So that's where all of these die cuts come from. And then I'll just set these aside for just a minute. So these are the 3 pattern papers that you will need to complete this layout. And we're going to start with this one, this beautiful wood grain for the background. And all we're going to do with this paper is remove the branding strip. Get that straight so that I don't cut off the bottom of the page. And then with this layout, this is where you need to cut exactly like I have mentioned, because you want to save. So we're going to use both pieces of this layout, or of this pattern paper, and you want this solid border around the edge of this second layout. So the first thing we'll do is remove the branding strip. And then we're going to cut out a square from the center of this page. So I put my blade here on the 11 and then go down to the 1 inch mark. And then we'll just keep doing that on all 4 sides. Put the blade down and just move down to the 11 mark. Turn. Do the same thing. Move down to the 1 inch mark. And then one last cut. Now if you don't have a paper trimmer that will accommodate these kinds of cuts, you can always use an X-Acto knife and a ruler to do this, or you can cut and just like you can miter the corners or add some cute stitching on the corners if you can't do a border like I just did. So don't worry if you can't do that. There's other ways to do it, but if you can, that's just a really easy way to get this 10-inch square. Let me make sure. Yep. 10-inch square of pattern paper. So that goes right in the center of the background. So I'm just going to take my tape runner and then flip this over and put it right there in the middle. You can measure if you'd like to make sure it's exactly in the middle. I just prefer to kind of eyeball it and get it close enough. That works for me. Okay, so the next piece of pattern paper that we want to cut is this striped pattern paper. So the name of this paper is Passage, and it's got this beautiful multicolored stripe on this side, and then this gorgeous yellow geometric print on the back side. So we want to cut a piece that is 4.5 inches wide by 9.5 inches long. So I'm just going to take my trimmer and move right down here to the 9.5 inch mark, and then flip it over and then just cut straight to that line. Okay, and then the other thing that we want to do with this paper is score at the 1/2 inch mark here along the top. So you can use a scoreboard and a scoring tool. I'm just going to use my paper trimmer here and a bone folder and just cut, or excuse me, score right there. Okay, so the next two pieces that we need for this layout is 4.5 by 2.5, and that is actually the exact size of this paper right here. Okay, so we've got one of those, and then we're gonna go to the, let's see, the 4.5 inch mark and go down to 2.5 here. And then, yep, the 2.5 inch mark right here, and go down to 4.5. Okay, so while we have this pattern paper right here, I'm going to show you how to make the next, the cuts for the other pattern paper. So for the second layout, we're going to need another piece that is 4.5 by 6.5. So we'll just go down here to the the 6.5, and then go right over here to 6.5, and cut right like that. Okay, so this is for layout number 2. Excuse me. And then we're just going to cut off the branding strip here, because the last two pieces that we want are 3/4 of an inch by 12 inch, and we need 2 of those. Okay, so just get that lined up and set that aside, and then again 3/4 of an inch by 12 inch. Just make sure I've got this straight here, and cut. So you should have 3 more pieces. This is for the second layout, and this one's for the third. And then you have kind of this awkward piece that we don't use for these 3 projects. Okay, so now back to this project. We're going to fold back on that score line that we created, and this is the part where you're going to need a ruler. Okay, so you want to adhere this paper 1.5 inches from the left side. So if you've got a paper clip handy, now would be a great time to use it. If you don't worry about it. You can do it. Just hold that firmly so it doesn't get out of place, and then lift that flap open, and you'll want to put strong adhesive right here. So I'm actually going to go with, and I moved my paper clip. Let me measure this one more time, friends. Hang tight. Okay, I'm going to flip that open and put some liquid adhesive back here. My liquid adhesive is almost gone. I'm trying to use this last little bit before I open a new bottle. If you're like me, you want to get all those little drops of glue out of there before you start a new bottle. Okay, so we'll give that just a second to dry before we flip it back over. Because if we don't have this adhered well, then all the work we do here on this outer flap will kind of be for nothing, because it will fall right off. Okay, so let's adhere these two pieces of geometric pattern paper, the yellow paper, and we want to adhere those 3 inches from the top. And this one I'm going to adhere right next to our striped paper that's on the flap. Make sure you don't adhere it on top or get any adhesive on that flap. Just take this down to 3 inches. Make sure that it's not on top of the flap at all, because we want to leave that flap free to open up. And I'm having a hard time. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then the next one we will adhere just right next to that, and it's just slightly askew. So it will overlap a little bit, but we want that just slightly off. And I put mine a little bit further down. It's personal preference, but right there. Okay, now we need a pencil. Reach over here for my pencil. And you're going to take your pencil and just make some marks where the corners of your flap are. Okay? So these pencil marks are going to be our guide. Make sure to just lightly you put your pencil marks on there. I'm putting mine a little bit darker than I would if I wasn't on camera. So I would make these really light. I am going to make them a little bit darker so that you can see my pencil marks. So when we open this flap up, we'll be able to know exactly where that flap is so that we can properly place our photos and embellishments. Okay, so let's get our photos placed now. So I have these two 2x3 photos, and they're just going to go right here on this yellow paper. They're going to slightly overlap. You want to leave plenty of room up here at the top. That's where we're going to put our embellishments. Just put them right there. The other thing that I forgot to mention, I should have mentioned this earlier, friends, is when I'm adhering pattern paper to the background, I always just put adhesive in the middle so that I have the room to tuck embellishments in and under and around my papers. So let's go with this one next. And we want to put this one right at the bottom of the flap. Again, you can measure, it's about 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the striped pattern paper. And then we'll open this up and put this next one right here. This is where the pencil marks come in handy. Okay, so I just want to open this flap here to show you that just goes right there under the flap. You want to leave room up here for the embellishments. So again, we're going to put it about 1/4 of an inch just right centered under where that flap goes, so that when you close the flap, that the photo that's under here is not showing. Okay, and then the same thing with this one here, except we want to adhere this one more to the bottom. So we'll just take a little bit of adhesive and again just adhere that right there in the middle. Okay, so now we have our photos in place. Okay, so now that we have our photos in place, the next thing I want to do is place the title. And our title comes out of this package of stickers. So we'll just pull out this top sheet of stickers. And the title on this layout is Wander Together. Just get that off of the backing there. And place that title. The D on Wander is going to slightly overlap this photo here on the right side. And then we'll just put the word together right underneath there. And we'll want to put that right there, leaving just a little, about 1/4 of an inch from the star paper. Okay, we'll make sure that is in place. You might want to add a little bit of liquid glue just to make sure that everything stays in place. And then hang on to this sticker sheet. We will come back to that in just a minute. The next thing I want to work on is the embellishment cluster that's right here on the corner of this photo. So I'm going to go through my die cuts here, and I'm actually just going to pull out all of the ones that I see that go on this layout. So I need that gold compass, the See the World, that vellum circle, these tickets, that one, just go through, we need this one, this one, this one, this one, we need these yellow florals, camera, I believe these suitcases, and then we need, there's another flower, I think it's that one. Okay, so that might not be all of our die cuts, but that will definitely give us a good start. We might have to reach back into that bowl here in a minute, but this is the one that I'm looking for. So you can go back and erase your pencil lines. I'm going to do that so that I don't have to worry about them when I am placing my embellishments. And again, it will probably be a lot easier for you. Since I put my eraser marks pretty heavy, I don't know that they will completely come off, but that's okay. Okay, so this die cut I adhered with pop dots, and the easiest way for me when I was adhering this is you kind of want that blue flower here to fill this gap right there on the title. So I'm going to take this die cut, and one way that you could do this to make sure that you get adhesive in the right spot is to flip it over and use your pencil again to outline on the back exactly where you want the adhesive to go. Because the most important thing to remember here is to not adhere this die cut to the background at all. You just want it to be adhered to this pattern paper here and the corner of the photo. Okay? So you just make sure that all of your adhesive is within those pencil lines. And we'll just remove the backing. And again, just watch for that little blue flower, or if you want to adhere it on the back there, you could just go by your pencil lines. Either way works, whichever is easier for you. Just make sure that you don't adhere anything to that background. Okay, so with that in place, let's work on this embellishment cluster up here at the top. So the main piece of this embellishment cluster is this vellum map. And make sure you get it the right side out. And I'm going to put just a little bit of adhesive here along the bottom, because along the bottom it's going to be covered up by embellishments. You know, if you have vellum adhesive and you want to adhere it all the way down on this one, you totally can. I just don't have vellum adhesive, and it doesn't bother me to have this not adhered. And on top of that, we need, whoops, not this one, sorry. I'm thinking of the wrong project. So I think I need another flower cluster. I do. So we'll go back into our bowl and looking for this flower that has, there's a pink flower and a purple flower. So it's this one right here. And that's going to be like the bottom layer on this embellishment cluster. I don't know about you guys, but I love adhering my embellishments with foam adhesive. Let me know in the comments if you like to adhere embellishments with foam adhesive too. It's one of my favorite things, and one of those things that, like, if I run out of foam adhesive, like, it's an emergency situation. Like, I can't create without my Pop Dots. I don't think I'm the only one. Let me know. Just in general, running out of adhesive is like really scary to me, but I am really scared of running out of Pop Dots. Okay, so the See the World flag, I put most of the the pole on the flag behind the photo, and then just that little bit there overlapping the photo. Okay, and then to finish this one off, we just need a gold heart sticker right up there. Okay, let's move over to right here. And the first thing that I want to adhere is this gold compass. Okay, we'll just put that right there in between those two pieces of yellow paper. Then we are going to need this pink ticket and the orange ticket. We'll put this yellow one back in the bowl because you will need it for another project. Now these I do not use foam adhesive on. You totally could. Just my personal preference was to just stick these right to the background. And I'm just putting those down so that it's the bottom line on the ticket is in line with the top of the photo. So on my layout, I put the date and the location on this one. Okay, so the next layer of embellishments is this just single pink flower. And I'm going to bring the foam adhesive back out again. If you have lots of travel photos that you need to document, I have a class here on the SET website called Travel Toolkit, and we go over all things travel scrapbooking in that class. If you would like to join me, I would love to have you. I will get a link put here in the chat some way, somehow. Okay, then we need to reach back into these stickers here. We need this gold sticker is going to go right up here. And then we'll flip it over, and the other stickers that we need are on this side. Okay, so we need this larger heart here, kind of overlapping. And then this gold geotag over here. And just make sure on the placement of these that you leave room for a date and location if that is what you want to put there. Okay, so now we will open this flap and we'll start embellishing here around this photo. So we need just 3 embellishments. I did not use foam adhesive on these embellishments. You totally could. It will just make this layout a little bulkier because you'll have that bulk up here under the flap. So it's totally up to you. You can do it either way. Whoops. I need to put this vellum circle. Again, with the vellum, I just put a little bit of adhesive on a spot that I know will be covered. And then we'll just layer that camera right on top there. We're in the home stretch, friends. We're almost there. Okay, so on the inside of this flap, I just have 4 embellishments actually, and I think we've already got them out. Ooh, I do. We just have the 4. Now on this one, let me get my example in here again. I did put a little bit of foam adhesive, and I did on this end because you won't notice the bulk as much here at the bottom. But if you put foam adhesive right at the top here, you're going to notice the bulk clear up here. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's why I put foam adhesive up here and not down here. Okay, so I'll put a little bit of foam adhesive under these suitcases. I think the stack of suitcases is adorable. So while I'm finishing this up, let me know in the comments, what is your dream location? What is on the top of your travel bucket list? I would love to know. So at the top of my travel bucket list was New York City. I was able to go to New York City a couple of times before the pandemic. Actually, one before the pandemic and one after the pandemic. I'm just going to tuck these binoculars right there. Want them up a little bit higher. And then just put a tiny bit of adhesive there underneath. Okay, you could totally put a little bit of foam adhesive there. Anyway, so I have been to New York City. That was the top of my bucket list. Since I crossed that off, I think probably Italy would be at the top of my bucket list. Either Italy or London. Maybe it's London. I don't know, but I would love to know where you would like to go. Okay, so friends, that finishes up this layout. You've got room here at the bottom for journaling. I printed my journaling and just adhered it right there along the bottom. You don't have to print your journaling. You can totally handwrite here as well, and then put the date and the location up there as I mentioned. Okay, so I'm going to take just a minute here to kind of reorganize and clean up a little bit, because we have time to start on layout number 2, friends. So I'm just getting the pieces of paper that we're going to need to put this layout together. We will need these. I've got my photo here. And then we also need this cut apart pattern paper. So we'll need this one as well. So I'm going to tuck that one underneath. So the first step, of course, that we're going to do is to remove the branding strip. So we're using this ledger piece of pattern paper as the background here. So this paper is called Documented. And on this one, remember we have, what I have is one 4x6 photo, but you can definitely add more if you'd like, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So the first thing we'll do is adhere this frame that we have left over from what we cut on the first layout. Let me move this for a minute so I can see, kind of match things up here, because this will just lay right on top. One thing that I think would be really fun on this project is to add foam adhesive to this frame. So if you would like to, that gives a really cool layer of dimension to the layout. Kind of makes the layout look like it's in a picture frame. So it takes just a second here to get everything adhered. Now if you end up with a little bit of pattern paper sticking out of the back like I have right here, it's just a tiny sliver. I'm honestly not going to worry about it. It doesn't bother me. But you can just take a pair of scissors and trim that background off if you would like to. It doesn't really matter. I'm actually going to turn this just so my stars are going in the right directions. But now that I look at it, guess what, friends? I got the stars kind of upside down on this one. Oh well, obviously it works either way. So the other pattern paper that we use on this layout, Before I move on though, on my layout, I stitched along the outside of this frame and along the inside of this frame with my sewing machine and white thread. For any of my friends out there who are stitching on their layouts. So I'm going to adhere this pattern paper to the background. And one thing that is super nice about adhering papers to a ledger background is you don't have to worry about getting things lined up. The background will do that for you. So we'll adhere that right there. Let me check. I'm just going to pull my layout aside here. And I do have that, yep, in the right spot. Okay, so if you want to, right, this is just a photo mat. We'll just go ahead and adhere that photo right in the middle of our photo mat. Okay, and then it is time to cut some pieces out from this cut apart sheet. So you can do this with a pair of scissors. You can also use your paper trimmer if you would like. I'm going to use a paper trimmer just because I think it goes a little bit faster. And we'll just go ahead. The first piece we need is this white suitcase. Just trim that down. I'm curious, when it comes to cut apart cards, do you like using your paper trimmer or scissors? For me, it just kind of depends. I am just going to go ahead and cut this pink card off as well because we need that for the third layout. So we'll go ahead and cut these tags next. And we just need these two that are on the end. The floral one and the one that says best day ever. Honestly, let's see, I think, trying to remember. On the third layout, I used this darker blue one over here. So if you want to use any of these cards instead, you can totally use those and still be able to create the last project. Okay, so we'll go right here. Just cut those. We'll cut this right down the middle and then just take a pair of scissors and trim them down so they are the shape of a tag. Tags are one of my favorite embellishments. I use them for everything: journaling, photos, embellishments. I was just trimming that one off. It had a little bit of extra on there. So I'm just gonna grab my hole punch. So with these two tags, what makes them kind of fun is I put adhesive on the top portion here. So before that, I'm going to go ahead and punch a hole, and you can punch a hole through both of them because they're going to go exactly on top of each other. Really quick, I am going to score along this top one. So I'm just going to go, let's see, about, you can do 3/4 or you can do a full inch. It honestly depends on what you want to put inside. So I'm just going to go with a 3/4 of an inch. I think I put a full inch on the instructions, but it really doesn't matter. And then put a bit of adhesive and just layer those tags right on top of one another. I like to put white crochet thread in my tags. It totally is personal preference. It can just go like that. But let's make a pocket for this tag. So what I'm going to use, let me just reach for it here. Scrapbook.com has an 1/8 of an inch foam strips, and I have started using these anytime I create a pocket. I love that you can tear them. And I love that they are just an 1/8 of an inch long. So here along the bottom, what I'm going to do, and it's going to be kind of hard to see on camera with this pattern paper, but the bottom of my tags are right here. So I'm just going to take this last little strip of adhesive that I have and put it right there, so that my tags don't get lost behind this journaling card, or I guess it's not a journaling card, but this piece of pattern paper. And then I'll just put a little bit more adhesive there along the bottom, just to make sure that everything stays in place. So we are moving through these projects rather quickly. If you would like to learn how to move through your projects more quickly, I do have a fast and fabulous scrapbooking class that is happening right now. It would be really fun to have you in that class. We're having so much fun. I go live each week on Tuesday and chat about all things scrapbooking quickly. So right here, so we have that pocket ready to go. Again, you can tie some crochet thread there on the top, but I want to get this large floral piece in place so that we can do the title. So I'm going to adhere this floral piece, and I believe in the instructions I actually had you do this first because it is tucked underneath this portion. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it so that it will just fit right around. So just right like that, no big deal. It will work either way. Nobody will ever know which way you adhered your flower die cut. So again, I just am putting a little bit of foam adhesive on the corners, and I'm just going to tuck this right there. And so next I want to do the title work. So I did put a title and a subtitle on this one. This is personal preference. If you want to just use the one title and just leave it with "Let's Go," you can totally do that and save the other portion for maybe a fourth project if you would like. I'm We're just layering these puffy stickers for the title right on top of those suitcases. Oh, get that the bottom of that exclamation point. Again, you might want to use liquid adhesive just to make sure these stickers stay in place. Those ones seem to be sticking fairly well today. And then underneath here, I'm going to add the See the World stickers. And I'm actually going to start over here with the word world. And I'm going to go ahead and put it down right here. On my sample, I've got it up. Actually, I don't have it up. I didn't tuck that flower in just as far. I'll show you here in just a minute, but either way totally works. Okay, and put C right there. So on my example, you can just see that this floral die cut is down a little bit further, but it's fine either way. You can totally move that up if you would like to. Either way works. Okay, so we'll set these aside. And now that I have my titles and my photo in place, usually the next step that I do is make sure that I have room for my journaling. Here I do. I haven't put it in there yet, but I will. And so now we can just have fun and embellish. So I'm going to reach into my little dish of die cuts here and pull out all of the ones that I need for this project. So we need this pink label here. Okay, we need the yellow ticket. We need the yellow flower. And I think that's everything. Okay. So we'll take that yellow flower. It just goes right up here in the corner. We have just this little bit showing out the corner of the photo. So we'll just tuck that right back behind there. And I'm actually going to pull this up a little bit and put a pop dot under there as well. And then this, my favorite place sticker goes, or excuse me, die cut. Goes right there. And then we have just a few little bits to finish off project number 2. So friends, you might have even less homework than I anticipated. Okay, we'll just remove the backing. And put that taxi right there at the bottom. So this story that I'm telling on this layout, so this is my mom and this is my niece. And recently they were able to travel to Washington, D.C. together. And I was super jealous, honestly. I wanted to go with them. They had a wonderful time. So we'll put the yellow ticket right here, and then just layer it there on the bottom. This is where I stamped the date, so you can stamp or handwrite the date there, no problem. And with that, friends, we are finished with layout number 2. So we'll just show them side by side here. So there are some slight differences, but anyway, a very easy project to put together. And I can't wait to see what you do on the inside of this. By putting foam adhesive there, you can even, you know, add photos or even a bulkier embellishment if you would like to, because you've got that extra room. Okay, so I wanted to show you how to put these 2 layouts that are interactive into page protectors and show you how that works. I hope that you can still see what I'm doing, even with the reflection of my filming lights. Okay, so when you put this one in a page protector, just pull this flap up so that it doesn't go in the page protector. And then you will have part of your layout in a page protector, and then this part will be out. So there's no need to alter this page protector or a page protector at all for this layout. For this one, we're going to alter the page protector just a tiny bit. Nothing too crazy here. But you just put it in the page protector. You want to make sure the tags are down exactly where you want them, that everything is in place. And then you'll take your craft knife, and I'm just using a craft knife from We Are Memory Keepers, and I'm going to poke through that page protector and just barely cut through the page protector, not being careful not to cut through your papers. And then you just take your tags back out and slip them right in there. So this top tag, the top of the tag, is outside of the page protector so that you can look at your interactive element without taking the entire page out of the page protector. So again, friends, I hope that you've had a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what you create. Thank you for the warm welcome and for you being so great and so kind in the comments. I will see you again soon, friends.